Hey friends, welcome to another video. Today I'm so excited to share some more card making life hacks, and this time I'm sharing some products to use for foiling and getting different effects with foiling on your cards. Foiling is something that I used to struggle with a little bit, but with these tips, you'll be foiling everything. I was so excited when I found this new transfer gel duo by Therm because this paste stays sticky, so it's a really easy way to add foil down without having to use heat or a laminator, and I'll share that later in today's video. Now I'm going to start off with the Cake Maker Stencil from Hurley Create, and I'm going to start off by blending out a cake image on my card before I add any foiling. So to do this, I'm just using my Hurley Create ink pads and some blending tools to go in and blend the layers together. And if you've never used a maker stencil from me, this is a really good way to create kind of a three-dimensional and playful image, adding the layers up using different ink pads on your card. And I just love how this one turns out once it's all finished. So I blended out the 2-layer cake and the little cake stand, and then I'm going to add frosting on top of the cake, but I want it to be foiled to give it a little bit of more dimension. So I'm going in with this transfer gel duo and a little palette knife, and I'm going to layer on the frosting that I want here, which is that layer there. You just make sure it lines up with both of the cakes, and then we'll add it down with a palette knife. And I'll show you an easier way to apply this smoothly later in today's video, but since this was a small space, the palette knife worked perfectly. And then you just want to wait about an hour for this to dry.
1 hour later.
So once that's all complete and clear, we can then go in and do our foiling. And for that, I'm just going to go in with my die cutting machine to do the foiling today, since you don't need heat for this gel. So I'm going to place that down, place the foil side, shiny side up, and then I always put a piece of cardstock over top just to make sure the texture from the plates don't transfer to my project. Then once I pull this out, you can see that awesome foiling has definitely stuck, and it gives a really beautiful effect. Now, does it give the exact same effect as a laminator? Not really. It gives it a little bit more of a textured look, but if you don't have a laminator, this is a perfect way to foil for sure. And I'll show you how to do it with a laminator because you can still use heat for this paste. Now I'm going in and blending on some candles on the top to finish it off, and that completes that. And then I'll stamp one of the sentiments from the set that just says happy birthday, which fits perfectly on the cake stand. Now to do the backgrounds today, I wanted to show an easy way to add this paste down and make it super smooth. This literally takes a matter of maybe a minute or two, whereas with this palette knife, trying to cover the whole background is very difficult, and doing it very smooth is even more difficult. I find you get too much texture when you use a palette knife over large backgrounds like this. So for me, I figured the trick is to add tons of paste down and then go in with something called the Stencil pal from Therm, and this is a really easy way to smooth out the paste. It takes a couple different strokes to get all the way down the card with lots of paste on it, and then I'm just going to go over once or twice to just smooth out the whole thing. And it gives this really easy, effortless, smooth effect throughout your stencil, and then you don't have any bumps or lumps like you would if you went in with a palette knife. So that's a super easy way, and then any excess paste you just put right back in the jar, but I find using lots of paste with that Stencil pal really helps to just do a smooth coating. And you can look super smooth once you're all complete, which I love. And it gives it a better look once you go over top with foil. Now I waited another hour for that to dry, and I'm going to go in with some Nouveau Gilding Flakes. I love the look of Gilding Flakes because if you compare it to the foil stays super shiny and kind of reflective, whereas the Gilding Flakes give that really awesome golden shine, but they have kind of a more brushed look to them. So I think it looks very elegant when mixed together, and I love this for backgrounds like I'm doing here. Now for this, I just take out some of the flakes and I start rubbing them on the background and kind of burnish them in with my fingers. Another thing you could do to keep this really nice and neat is just do it inside of a container and keep your Gilding Flakes inside of a bigger plastic container. But I just swept any of the little tiny pieces into the trash and put any of the larger pieces back into the jar. But I love how this background looks, and that brushed foil is a really great effect if you don't always love the shimmer and shine of a foil. This gives a really beautiful metallic look of gold leafing, which I think is awesome. Now I want to share how you can still use this through a laminator with that paste. So I again waited for that to dry, and I'm going to put a piece of watercolor foil from Therm on top. Now it's still going to be sticky, so you want to place it down carefully. Put it in your transfer sheet or a piece of folded printer paper, and then put it through your laminator. I found that I get a little bit better heat coverage in a mink, but I'll link to both a mink and a laminator below that I love. I'm going to peel this off, and I just love the look of the heat transferred foil. Of course, you can totally use either one with the pressure or heat, but I find this gives a little bit of a smoother effect as it goes through. And to finish off the card, I use the sentiment from my encouraging words stamp set to brighten it up a little bit, and I love how that looks. I wanted to take a moment in the middle of today's episode to thank our sponsor, which is the Life Handmade podcast by Scrapbook.com, because I actually listened to this podcast before they reached out, and so I wanted to recommend it to all of you guys as well. Life Handmade is a new podcast by Scrapbook.com, perfect for crafters, DIYers, or anybody who just loves getting creative. New episodes air every other Wednesday, and they go through different topics like navigating life through hardships, staying creative during difficult times, which we are definitely going through some difficult times in the world today, and also some really awesome interviewers from different creative people in the industry. I think that's what initially drew me into this podcast, is listening to different stories and behind the scenes from people in our industry, and really hearing how they got to where they are today and what they kind of went through to get there. You really get to see behind the scenes in these designers' life, and also keep up with some of their new releases, which they cover usually at the end of every podcast. Initially, Heidi Swap's episode is what drew me in. I thought it was so heartwarming and I loved hearing her story, but there's also guests like Ali Edwards and Paige Evans and so many more really well-known creatives in our industry. You can listen to the podcast anywhere where podcasts are available, and I'll have a link down below as well to the podcast so you guys can go check it out. I think you'll absolutely love it. Alright, for the last technique here, I wanted to show how to use your adhesives that you might have laying around your craft room to create some really cool foiled effects on your cards. Now for this one, I'm just taking a ruler on either side of the card, and I'm going to make little stripes going down the card to make a little bit of a graphic look here. I'm just going in with the Scrapbook.com score tapes, and they come in different widths, and so I'm kind of varying the width of the tape as I go down and create this striped pattern. Another thing you could do with this is create kind of a cool plaid look. I've done that before with these tapes and some foils. And also you can go in and do different borders on either side of your card making project to make some cool border stripes with foil, which I think looks awesome as well. It just gives a really stunning effect with that nice shimmer and shine of the foil. So once I'm done lining all of those up, I'm going to peel off the release tape one by one and put different colors of foil onto there. I find starting either on one side or from the center and then pushing out with your fingers and giving lots of pressure to make sure that it sticks is very helpful. And I do each one by one, and then if I give a lot of pressure but some parts still don't transfer, you can always put the piece of foil over top again and fill in any extra parts that didn't get the foil. Now, one thing I have to say with this is the foil is a little bit more prone to scratching when you use it just straight up with adhesives like this, but it does give a really cool look, and if you are careful or just use it as little borders here and there, it creates a really beautiful effect on your card. And I love all these different colors in that fun striped pattern. Now here I'm going in with the Doodle Floral stamp set and just stamping down this "Thank you for your kindness" sentiment, and then I also went in with Little Butterfly from the Encouraging Words Simon Hurley Create set too. But I love this shimmer and shine with those stripes that the foil provides with that tape. Oreo just walked into the craft room, so I figured he wanted to do the outro with me and get into a little crafting. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a comment down below letting me know which tip from today's video or which card was your favorite. And if you have any foiling tips, let me know down below in the comments. Also, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. And what else do they do, Or? Oh, be sure to click the subscribe button down below to never miss another card making and crafting video like this one from me. Alright guys, I'll see you very soon. Have a great day. Bye!